have people coming into the country or trying to come in. We're stopping a lot of them. But we're taking people out of the country. You wouldn't believe how bad these people are. These aren't people. These are animals. We pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country.
No doubt any major political candidate using language like that, language that recalls Mussolini and Hitler, you would be disgusted by. And there are conservative leaders all over the world. There's a conservative leader of the UK right now. There's a conservative leader in Italy. There's one in Greece. They don't sound anything like that. The only major Western leader who sounds like this is Donald Trump right here in the United States. And his language, calling his opponents, quote, vermin, is shocking. It's unfathomable, and it's anti-democratic.
What's up, guys? Boston Brian here from the Midas Touch Network, and that was the epitome of the modern-day fascist leader in Donald Trump, followed by CNN's Jake Tapper finally calling this stuff out, albeit very late to the game, representing what is the broader mainstream media's attempt to finally let the American people know that Donald Trump has been quoting Nazi propaganda, that he has been quoting Mein Kampf, and that he has been literally spewing the same stuff that Hitler himself would have been saying. And let me just say, the fact that it took an up-and-coming YouTube channel like Midas Touch to actually get this out there, to finally get the attention of the mainstream media, just blows my mind. And listen, by now I'm well aware that most of you have seen the videos of Donald Trump spewing this hateful rhetoric. Most of you have seen the tweets where they show line by line what Donald Trump said to the phrases that Hitler would have used in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. You've seen the posts on MidasTouch.com. You've seen it. You've seen the words. Me being a World War II guy, I know and have the knowledge to pick out the videos that can actually show you the visuals, to show you just how similar his rhetoric is and the stuff coming out of the GOP, Donald Trump's rallies, and Donald Trump's mouth himself to what was happening in the 20s, 30s, and 40s in Nazi Germany and all over Europe. What I want you to do in this video is I really want you to pay attention to the words that are being used, the language, the rhetoric, the phrases that he chooses to put in his speeches. It's remarkably similar. It is almost line by line, verbatim, what the Nazis would have said. I mean, this is no joke, folks. This is nothing to breeze by. This is nothing that you just read the headline and keep going on with your day, okay? We're talking about the same language, the same messaging, the same Nazi propaganda that in 1924 a man named Adolf Hitler in Landsberg prison used when dictating Mein Kampf to his buddy Rudolf Hess. The same exact rhetoric that led to the Holocaust. This should and needs to be talked about nonstop. It should be covered by every major news network on the planet, every little news network on the planet, every Democratic YouTube channel, everybody that has a voice, anybody that has a platform. This should be shouted from the rooftops and dissected. People should be asking who's writing the speeches directly, why this is talked about, why these phrases are in his speeches. People should be questioning Donald Trump right to his goddamn face. Why are you saying this? Do you know what this led to back in the day? This is absolutely outrageous. It is no coincidence. We cannot have the leader of one of the major parties in this country literally quoting Hitler, literally quoting Nazi propaganda, word by fucking word. But let's get to the clip so I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. First off is a random clip from Donald Trump at one of his rallies. Now, I've highlighted his language. I've highlighted the words to make it a little easier. I want you to pay close attention to the words that he uses, and then we'll compare that to Nazi propaganda from the 30s and 40s.
That lie and steal and cheat on elections and will do anything possible. They'll do anything, whether legally or illegally, to destroy America. We pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country.
And here is just a short clip from a Nazi propaganda film in the 40s that uses pretty much the same exact language that Donald Trump uses today.
Wo Ratten auch auftauchen, tragen sie Vernichtung ins Land. Zerstören sie menschliche Güter und Nahrungsmittel.
The really scary thing is that the goal of this language, the purpose of this language, is the same exact goal that was the goal of the Nazis, okay? The goal is to dehumanize, to get you to think that the other side is not human, they are subhuman, they are Untermenschen, they can be controlled, they can be stepped on, and they can be defeated if you think that they are here to destroy your land, if they are here to take up your space, to take up your jobs. Crime rates going up. Oh, you better protect your daughter. There's disease, there are vermin, there are rats coming across the border. This is the same exact messaging that you would have heard all over Nazi Germany, all over Europe when they took over Europe in the 40s. And here's Donald Trump in a sit-down interview, just continuing to use the most disgraceful and degrading and dehumanizing language, this time against asylum seekers, trying to come to this country, seeking a better life, leaving just the most despicable conditions you could possibly think of. But if Donald Trump can convince you that there are disease-ridden terrorists coming across that border, then that might get you to act upon that, right? So in a way, it's stochastic terrorism. When he's telling you that you have a threat this bad at the border, that there are people of this type coming across the border, what would you do to save your country? And again, look at the similarities to the language used here and when we look at the next clip.
We know they're terrorists. It's so bad, and people are coming in with disease. People are coming in with every possible thing that you can have.
And again, let's compare that to a Nazi propaganda film with the same message.
Auf diese Weise verbreiten sie Krankheiten, Pest, Lepra, Typhus, Cholera, Ruhr und so weiter.
And once again, the messaging is exactly the same. This is meant to get you to believe that the other side is not worthy of human life. They are dirty pests meant to be eradicated from whatever society they are found in. Here's yet another clip of the decrepit orange fascist, once again going after asylum seekers and migrants come to this country, talking about how they're massing in large groups, talking about caravans once again, talking about how this is an assault on our country, talking about how the people that are coming in are not good people. He wants you to believe, he wants his followers to believe that the people coming are bad people, terrible people that are just groomed to vote for the Democrat Party.
What's happening right now as a large group of people, they call it a caravan. So as the caravan, and look, that is an assault on our country. That's an assault. And in that caravan, you have some very bad people. You have some very bad people.
All right, so let's take what he said there, remember the language, and we'll compare that to one of the most well-known Nazi propaganda films called Der ewige Jude or The Eternal Jew.
Eine verblüffende Parallele zu dieser jüdischen Wanderung durch die ganze Welt bieten uns die Massenwanderungen eines ebenso ruhelosen Tieres, der Ratte. Sie sind hinterlistig, feige und grausam und treten meist in großen Scharen auf. Sie stellen unter den Tieren das Element der heimtückischen unterirdischen Zerstörung dar. Nicht anders als die Juden unter den Menschen.
I mean, are we starting to understand now that this is no accident, that this is very calculated, that Stephen Miller or whoever's writing his speeches now put these in there for a goddamn purpose, and that Donald Trump absolutely has no problem saying this stuff because, as we remember, the story and the report goes that he used to have a bedside table book that was full of Hitler's speeches and that he used to look over that book. So he absolutely knows and he's absolutely aware of where these phrases come from and what the purpose behind them is. Next, this fascist bowl of squash uses the tactic of making all his followers, all his loyal sycophants at the rally, take a pledge to take an oath to vote for Donald Trump when the election comes. Hey, what a fucking coincidence. Just so happens that pledges and oaths were really big back in Nazi Germany.
Everybody here, who likes me in this room? Okay, I've never done this before. Can I have a pledge, a swearing? Raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear
Ich schwöre bei Gott, diesen heiligen Eid,
that I, no matter how I feel,
dass ich dem Führer des Deutschen Reiches und Volkes
no matter what the conditions, if there's hurricanes or whatever,
unbedingten Gehorsam lässt und als tapferer Soldat bereit sein will, mein Leben einzusetzen,
will vote on or before the 12th
für diesen Eid
for Donald J. Trump for president.
Oberbefehlshaber der Wehrmacht, Adolf Hitler.
That's good enough. You all raised your hand. You swore. Bad things happen if you don't live up to what you just did.
You can call me crazy. You can call me a socialist. You can even call me a communist. But what you can't call and tell me is that it's ever a good thing for your fucking beliefs to line up with Nazi Germany this many times, to have it be this similar, to take the propaganda from the 30s and 40s and take it and use it in 2023 in the United States of America. This next clip, in my opinion, has to be the most egregious. I mean, when you have the ex-former disgraced president of the United States of America, the ex-leader of the free world, the current Republican frontrunner to become nominee for president of the United States again in 2024, directly quoting Mein Kampf, probably never a good thing.
It is a very sad thing for our country. It's poisoning the blood of our country.
I'm just going to go out on a limb here and assume that poisoning the blood of our country isn't in Donald Trump's regular vocabulary. I mean, this is the same guy that told us there were airports in the Civil War and that dead whales are washing up all over the place because of windmills. So one can assume that this is not how Donald Trump speaks on a day-to-day basis when he's not in front of a camera. But I'm not here to just talk about this and create a headline and then brush past it. I want to really do a deep dive. I want to really show you where poisoning the blood of our country and phrases like that came from. Here is an excerpt directly from Mein Kampf that uses the same exact language that talks about defiling blood the same way that Donald Trump uses it today. And again, pay attention to the language. Pay attention to the rhetoric that comes out of these words. It's very specific. It's very calculated. It's very purposeful. With satanic joy in his face, the black-haired Jewish youth lurks in wait for the unsuspecting girl whom he defiles with his blood, thus stealing her from her people. With every means, he tries to destroy the racial foundations of the people he has set out to subjugate, just as he himself systematically ruins women and girls. He does not shrink back from pulling down the blood barriers for others, even on a large scale. It was and is the Jews who brings the Negroes into the Rhineland, always with the same secret thought and clear aim of ruining the hated white race by necessarily resulting the bastardization, throwing it down from its cultural and political height, and himself rising to be its master. For a racially pure people which is conscious of its blood can never be enslaved by the Jew. In this world he will be forever the master over bastards and bastards alone. And so he tries systematically to lower the racial level by a continuous poisoning of individuals. Around people who offer too violent a resistance to attack from within, he weaves a net of enemies, thanks to his international influence, incites them to war, and finally, if necessary, plants a flag of revolution on the very battlefields. In economics, he undermines the states until the social enterprises which have become unprofitable are taken from the state and subjugated to his financial control. In the political field, he refuses the state the means for its self-preservation, destroys the foundations of all nation, self-maintenance and defense, destroys faith in the leadership, scoffs at its history and past, and drags everything that is truly great into the gutter. Culturally, he contaminates art, literature, the theater, makes a mockery of natural feeling, overthrows all concepts of beauty and sublimity and the noble and the good, and instead drags men down into the sphere of his own base nature. Religion is ridiculed, ethics and morality represented as outmoded, until the last props of a nation in its struggle for existence in this world have fallen. And even though, as you just heard, this book is a hodgepodge, an unreadable mess that contains more racist, bigoted, anti-Semitic rhetoric than I've ever heard in any other spot in my life, it seems as though that Donald Trump and his team, Stephen Miller and the rest of them, have found this to be some sort of Bible, some sort of playbook that they're using to run their campaign for 2024. And here's just the latest attempt from illiterate Mussolini to weaponize and plagiarize German propaganda to suit his own needs when he comes out with the phrase stab in the back. Now, after the clip, we'll go over what the stab in the back theory really means and the anti-Semitic roots that it came from.
Rookie Joe is doing the bidding of Wall Street, of foreign countries, and of everyone else who owns him. But he's stabbing auto workers, manufacturing workers, and American families in the back.
And I understand most people wouldn't even notice that, and on its face and by itself probably wouldn't even be a big deal. But add that in with all the other examples I've shown you in this video, and this is absolutely no coincidence. Here is a short, clear, and concise explanation of what the stab in the back theory really means and where it came from, and why Donald Trump is probably using it.
The basic stab in the back theory stated that the German military was not responsible for the loss of World War I because uprisings and betrayals at the home front caused the German government to surrender while the war was still winnable, or at least before the army was defeated. It is an early example of a conspiracy theory that is believed because it is more comfortable to do so than to accept the pitiless reality. Like those other theories, everything surrounding the stab in the back theory is circumstantial, highly debatable, belied by actual evidence, and based on stereotypes of standard enemies and outsiders in the dominant culture. The Dolchstoß theory, or Dolchstoßlegende as the Germans call the stab in the back theory, became a central feature of Third Reich propaganda with increasing anti-Semitic overtones. It also was a way to stiffen resentment of communism, blamed along with the Jews for the uprising.
Let's just take a look at the similarities and the parallels for 1 second here. Both sides have a big defeat, okay? The German army in World War I, Donald Trump in 2020. Both sides think that they won this thing. Both sides think that it was something on the home front and something behind the scenes that caused them to lose this battle. Both the German army after World War I and Donald Trump in 2020 believe it was globalists, socialists, and communists behind the scenes that was sabotaging their effort, and it wasn't just the fact that they got their ass kicked. Here he is once again copying, using the language of, using the style, and the phrases of people like Adolf Hitler and Joseph Goebbels. Whichever one of Donald Trump's Hitler-loving fascist minions behind the scenes came up with this one people, one nation, one family thing, knew exactly what the hell they were doing, and 100% copied it from Germany's Ein Volk, ein Reich, ein Führer. And you can bet your ass on that and take that right to the bank.
We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God.
Unser deutsches Vaterland, unser deutsches Volk, unser heiliges Reich der Zukunft, Heil!
Am I making my case yet? I mean, everybody thought in 2015 when I said this exact thing was going to happen that I was being hyperbolic, that I was crazy, there's no way that was going to happen. And now I'm sitting here making a video about the ex-president of the United States using Adolf Hitler's words, using phrases out of Mein Kampf, using Nazi propaganda against us in 2023. And what might be the sickest part of it all is that when questioned, the Trump campaign, and Stephen Chung in particular, came out with this response.
Now, the Washington Post reached out to the Trump campaign to get a response to how his language, this vermin terminology, echoes that of previous dictators like Mussolini and Hitler. A spokesman for Mr. Trump said, quote, "Those who try to make that ridiculous assertion are clearly snowflakes, grasping for anything because they are suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, and their entire existence will be crushed when President Trump returns to the White House," unquote. What better way to prove you do not have authoritarian instincts than by promising your critics' entire existence will be crushed?
Now, I know the likelihood of Stephen Chung seeing this video is slim to none, but if he were to watch this and then look at all the comparisons that I just made and then go ahead and tell me that there's absolutely no parallels to the two, I'd say he's probably qualified to work for the Trump campaign. And last but not least, here is a short montage of fascist, authoritarian, wannabe dictator Donald Trump saying the quiet part out loud, telling you exactly what his plans are to ruin democracy, exactly what his plans are to turn this into a dictatorship, and we better listen up.
Where there is a true and total breakdown of law and order, then the federal can and should send the National Guard to restore order and secure the peace without having to wait for the approval of some governor. I will immediately reissue my 2020 executive order restoring the president's authority to remove rogue bureaucrats, and I will wield that power very aggressively. So on day one of my new administration, I will direct the DOJ to investigate every radical DA and Attorney General in America for their illegal, racist, in-reverse enforcement of the law. We will carry out the largest domestic deportation operation in American history. I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act to remove all known and suspected gang members, drug dealers, or cartel members from the United States.
And if you're president again, will you lock people up?
The answer is you have no choice because they're doing it to us.
If I happen to be president and I see somebody who's doing well and beating me very badly, I say, go down and indict them. Mostly that would be, they would be out of business. They'd be out. They'd be out of the election.
This is what we're up against, folks. This is what we're fighting. In 2023, full fascism from the GOP. We need to stay focused. We need to stay vigilant. We need to continue to call this out. We need to continue to make people aware that might not be as politically involved. This is not a joke anymore. This is real. It could not be any more real. I didn't think I'd ever be in this position, but I'll be damned if I'm going to go down without a fight. And none of this is possible. There's no way that we can win without the help of you beautiful people, without the help of the Midas Mighty. So we thank you for being here. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. And we're on our way to 2 million subscribers here at Midas Touch. You can also help us create this content. You can also check us out at patreon.com/Midas Touch. And if you'd like to help me out personally to create content like this, to help me with all the work that goes into these things, to help you guys to get the information out into the airwaves, go to patreon.com/Boston Brian. I would greatly appreciate it. Until the next time, keep kicking ass, keep fighting, keep calling this shit out. I'm Boston Brian. Have a great night.